There is an unrecorded passage in the gospel that when the angel finally, after Jesus was ascended in front of the disciples, just when the angel said to them, "Men of Galilee, why are you looking up here?" What wasn't recorded was the awareness that she soon came to when she realized the discussion John and Peter were having, boxers or briefs. Old joke. But I think about it, I think I was in 8th grade when I first heard that. Had no idea what boxers were at that point in time. And because I'm celebrating my 35th anniversary tomorrow, I thought, what the heck? No, jeez. And he was lifted up. And he was lifted up. It's one of those verbs that occurs many times in the scriptures. Lifted up. It's used in reference to the people he healed. It's used in reference to him on the cross. He was lifted up on the cross in front of the world. It's used in the resurrection. And here it is again, used in the ascension. And he was lifted up. God lifts up this Jesus in front of the whole world. And in this great lifting up, you and I, are uplifted. Uplifted. To be uplifted is to be inspired. To be uplifted is to be given by someone a new reason to live, a new reason to love, a new reason to try again at whatever that is for us at any given time. It is to be unbounded by what bound us. It's to stand up tall again after whatever bent us over. To be uplifted is to feel good again about our lives after, for one reason or another, we've gotten very discouraged. To be uplifted is to have someone celebrate us, someone celebrate our gifts and our talents, and help us believe in ourselves again after something in life or someone hurt us so bad that we'd lost faith even in ourselves. To be uplifted is to have someone believe we can still make a difference even in our older years, even after we failed. To be uplifted is to become positive again about things after, for some reason, losing that. It has a lot to do with attitude, for sure, and more. The opposite of being uplifted or uplifting is to be dark. It's to be cynical. It's to be someone known by other people as somebody who's always complaining about her hurts, or always complaining about his boss, or somebody always negative about this or that or another thing. Dark. And people like that become wearing. You know who they are, and you know you're probably one of them sometimes. It's become an easy and almost culturally acceptable way to live now. I was with good friends just last night, and it's discouraging to me and surprising that even people I love can say the worst, meanest things about a politician, and it's somehow okay. It's just unbelievable to me how we fall into that. We are all uplifted, really, by this Jesus. That's why God lifts him up here in this story in front of the whole world. It's hard to hear his story and not be uplifted by it, not be inspired by his life and even his death. But not just to be inspired for our own sake, not just for us to be uplifted. That's not enough, really. It's not okay to just feel good about things again or positive after so long, as good as that feels. No, this experience of being uplifted is not something meant to stop here. It's meant to stop there. And we who have been so uplifted to know that we can be uplifting people now, and that that's really our job as followers of the way. That we who've been uplifted by this story, by this life, by his death, are now meant to be uplifting people in this world. It's the next thing the apostles heard when the resurrection appearances started to begin to stop. The next thing they heard was go into the whole world, announce the good news, go into the whole world, especially the people who need it the most, and be uplifting. Be an uplifting presence in their life, for God's sake. Lift them up. So do you remember what I preached about last Easter? Anybody want 500 days off purgatory? I'll let you off the hook. I invited you Easter Sunday, this entire community, if you happen to be with us then, personally and all together, to a radical optimism. A radical optimism. A positiveness about life that's radical because it's so different from the world, and that's radical because it's rooted in the one who is the source of our lives and our loves. To become radically optimistic human beings. And it's Easter alone that makes this kind of optimism about life and about love possible. A radical optimism deeply rooted in that source of every new possibility, still and always possibility, no matter what. And yes, even in politics. For far too many, it's become too easy to throw in the towel. But we're not going to let that happen. And this power that's inside us now, that will be celebrated this coming Sunday on Pentecost, that power in us now gives us many reasons to not throw in the towel. Where there were only blank walls, our Easter faith creates windows. We are indeed uplifted by this Jesus. And we got to take that experience of being ourselves lifted up by this story, inspired by his life and his death, knowing he's with us still, to become uplifting people in this world. The world absolutely depends on it. Some come to the CSC, they tell me, because they call our liturgies here at the CSC uplifting experiences. If that's true, I'm truly, truly grateful that this can be a place where people can be inspired in their faith and their hope and in their love. That means the world to me. That's why I do this. The only reason. But as uplifting as it can feel perhaps sometimes, it is for nothing if it doesn't send us out into the world as surely as Pentecost did, to lift up now. To be uplifting ourselves in the worlds in which we live and move and have our being. To work hard to change that in our church and that in our culture that keeps people bent over still in shame for who they are and powerless themselves to make a difference. People will be uplifted when they know you're doing something in this world and putting your neck on the line for them to have rights, for them to have respect, for them to be cared about as who they are, as they are. The world needs uplifting people like that who work for change, who work tirelessly for change. Who needs to be lifted up? Who needs to be lifted up around you? I worry about women in our church and in our culture. I worry that they're not respected for the gifts they have and the difference they make. Oh, they are in your families, I believe that. But in the bigger world, in the world of work, in the world of human rights, around the world especially, oh my gosh. I worry about our students who identify as gay, who oftentimes do not feel like they have a place at our tables, the tables of our church, even in their own families. and definitely in this culture, where there's almost this tug-of-war, pulling them this way and that, telling them they can and they can't. I worry about that. I worry about seniors looking for jobs in an economy that doesn't feel like there's much there for them after all the work they've put in to get ready for it. I worry about those who've been rejected in love, or the other extreme, they're just so needy that they can't not be with someone, and so they pick just anyone. I worried about older parents whose lives are no longer so meaningful because the kids are gone now and grown up. And I worry about younger parents who are so tired all the time that there's not much they can really truly experience anymore because they're just in this fog of tiredness because life is so stressful between work and marriage and raising the little kids and the sleepless nights. My point, my friends, is that these folks who need to be uplifted are right down the hall from you. They're right across the street from you. They're working in the cubicle right next to you. They're teaching in the classroom just next door. And it's also the one that looks back at you in your own mirror in the morning. That person, too, needs to be uplifted in this world. And sometimes all it takes is just the ability, the decision to be as present as we can be in a way that makes a difference. All it takes is to just be present in a way that makes a difference. And because of this Easter message, because of where this radical optimism is rooted, this optimism that doesn't just see blank walls but see windows where blank walls exist for others, there are no situations that it cannot be uplifting to people. I think of a woman from one of my old parishes who spent decades on the streets of St. Louis and a few other cities, selling her body to one man after another. She went to prison eventually, which was where I met her. But she didn't just go there, and by the way, she died there in the end. She never got out. She didn't just go there to waste away the rest of her days and give in to the cynicism and the darkness and the discouragement of the women around her there. She decided to go there and make a difference, to be a presence that made a difference. She became this uplifting human being to her fellow prisoners. This woman who had been nothing in her adult life more than a prostitute had this enormous ability to lead. Enormous. To lead by her attitude in that place, that prison place. Her attitude became this huge influence on the women around her in jail. Her positive attitude, her optimism. And in a prison, that's what makes optimism radical, I'm telling you. That optimism was contagious to those other women. She made them feel special. She made them feel like they had a place even there when it was one drab, bland jail cell after another. She made them feel like they were living in a palace. She made them feel like they weren't just a number on somebody else's list, but a daughter of God for God's sake. She helped those women separated from their families and their friends, just like she was, in that desolate place, have a reason to wake up in the morning and be genuinely caring about the woman next to them in that prison cell. Genuinely caring. When she died, there were not a lot of people at her funeral, but the notes that came from her fellow prisoners were beautiful. That was an uplifting woman. And you know, that's no small accomplishment behind prison's bars. That's some heavy lifting. Sometimes all it takes is to be present to another person in a way that makes a difference. My friends, the Ascension celebrates that the one who has been lifted up uplifts and asks us to be uplifting in the world.